Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and Pam Bondi just takes full advantage of Amy Klobuchar, who makes a complete fool of herself in front of her own Senate committee. Let's dive in.
But we want to keep guns, as you said, where they should be, in the hands of law-abiding American citizens, while keeping them out of the hands of criminals and gangs. Since January 20th, the ATF and FBI have seized more than
you gave these
30,000 illegal guns.
I have 10 minutes.
30,000,
You have given
Senator
these
Klobuchar.
statistics, and I truly appreciate those statistics. But what I was just trying to get at was something where maybe we could find common ground on a bill that you actually defended in court in a state, which Director Patel seemed open to, and that was looking at could we at least raise the age to 21 of the purchase of an assault weapon federally while states look at banning these weapons overall, given these little babies that this gun is used to kill. So we can talk about it later, but that was my question, and you don't want to answer it.
No, it's pending litigation, Senator.
Okay, but your views on this is not pending litigation. So I want to get to the independence of the Justice Department. At your nomination hearing, I specifically asked you to provide assurance to every member of this committee that the Justice Department will only follow the facts and the law, and the White House will play no role in the cases investigated or brought. You stated in response, this was you, politics will not play a part in my decisions. And you also said the Justice Department must be independent and must act independently. Do you believe that you have upheld that commitment?
I absolutely have upheld that commitment, Senator. I pledged that I would end the weaponization also of the Justice Department, and that America would once again have a one-tier system of justice for all. And that is what we are doing in this country.
We saw this with the president directing an investigation prosecution of Chris Krebs, the former head of cybersecurity, Lisa Cook, who is a current governor of the Federal Reserve, Director Comey. And the president, and I know you have said that you will not discuss discussions you've had with the president about Comey. Is that correct? That you won't testify here about that? Because I was going to ask you if you received advice, instruction, or request from anyone at the White House to direct the department to engage in any investigations, prosecutorial actions, including decisions not to investigate or prosecute anyone.
I'm not going to discuss any conversations.
But then how about the Truth Social post on September 20th, 2025, in which the president said, we can't delay any longer, Pam, using your name, not bringing criminal charges, are killing our reputation, his words, and credibility. And then goes on to tell you to prosecute a member of this committee, to prosecute the Attorney General of New York, and to prosecute James Comey. Do you consider that a directive to the Justice Department?
Senator Klobuchar, President Trump is the most transparent president in American history, and I don't think he said anything that he hasn't said for years.
Okay, it has been reported that you initially pushed back against requests by senior Trump administration officials to push out or fire the acting U.S. Attorney in Virginia, Eric Siebert, who's a conservative Republican, who made the decision that the evidence was not there to prosecute Comey. What made you change your opinion?
I am not going to discuss personnel decisions.
Okay. Is it true that the career prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia found that there was insufficient evidence to bring criminal charges against former Director Comey?
I am not going to discuss pending cases because Comey was indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia by, I may point out, one of the most liberal grand juries in the country.
Okay, let's go on to other firings or terminations. Last week, the Justice Department fired at least 2 senior attorneys in the Eastern District of Virginia, including the office's national security chief, Michael Benary. It is reported that his firing came following criticism from a right-wing social media commentator who wrote, "One can only assume he was part of the internal resistance in the Comey indictment." In fact, he did not work on the Comey case. Instead, he was working on pursuing justice for service members killed in Afghanistan. How does firing a 20-year national security prosecutor enhance public safety?
Senator Klobuchar, I'm not going to discuss personnel decisions, but the personnel issue that I'm having right now is that all of my agents, all of my lawyers are working. My agents are on the street working without a paycheck because your party voted to shut down the federal government.
Unfortunately, the House isn't even back here. They're 18 days off the job to even meet with us to come up with a resolution that we would like to discuss with them about saving people's health care.
How the blazes did Amy Klobuchar get this far? Seriously, how did she get this far? She's asking questions she already knows the answers to, and Pam Bondi's not going to fall for anything like this. This isn't the Bush administration, all right? This ain't W. This ain't people flubbing all over themselves and then making fools of themselves in front of the Congress and the Senate. No, this ain't happening anymore. We finally figured out how to properly speak to the mainstream media, and in this case, the Democrat Party. So, what is Klobuchar really getting at here? How did she get this far? Well, that final quip, that one about, oh, I'm fighting for health care. That's how she got this far. First off, Amy Klobuchar is from Minnesota, and the folks from Minnesota, they're nice. They're nice. And a lot of nice people. If I had to choose another NFC team to root for, it'd be the Vikings. I like them. I loved watching Randall Cunningham play football. But they're not good politicians on the American stage. Okay? Minnesota is its own very unique area. I jokingly refer to it as a land of 10,000 flakes because they're nice, they've got a high trust society, they were able to make that work, but whenever they put a politician on the national stage, Dukakis, Tim Walz, didn't end well. It really didn't end well. That's because Minnesota is so unique. It is just so different. They're able to make their system work out there for a whole multitude of reasons. And so Klobuchar then makes way more sense. Not only did she fail upwards, she knows exactly what to say in order to keep on getting reelected and reelected and reelected. She's good at that. Not much else. This whole line of questioning, it just has been absolutely awful. There's a member to her left that I covered earlier today who she was furiously taking notes whenever he was asking questions, but he got nowhere. His questions were just as asinine. And it makes me wonder, it makes me wonder, why do Democrats do this to themselves? Why does this keep happening? Why are all these questions so obtuse, so out of left field, having nothing really to do with really anything in general? If you want to ask questions about James Comey, well, you need to be asking a completely different set of questions other than, did the president tell you to go after James Comey? Did the president allude to you to go after James Comey? You see the problem here? Instead of asking the questions of, why did James Comey, why does he keep on coming under fire? Well, what's the paper trail? What's the scrutiny for? And instead, she is able to flip the last second when Pam Bondi wants to get a little dig in, and I actually have to respect that. I respect that game, all right? You got to respect the game. When someone else is an opposing pitcher and strikes out one of your players, you got to tip your cap to him. And then you've got to yell at one of your players, except that didn't really occur in this case. She had one good pitch in her arsenal and she used it. The rest of the time, asking about, oh, well, you fired someone recently. Why? Well, maybe, just maybe, Amy, when you're trying to run a government, and you have people in that government that don't like the fact that certain people are in charge, and will often spout out on social media and show blatant disloyalty, blatant shows of high levels of mistrust. I don't think that bodes well for a good government. Now, does it? Furthermore, when you're having to pay a prosecutor of 20 years, those bills start adding up. So I'm willing to bet there was also some wanting to trim down of the literal government fat. So yeah, firing a prosecutor. And Amy Klobuchar is out here clutching her pearls. How dare you fire someone who has been in government for so long? Well, maybe because they've been in government for so long. What's the saying about power? Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Now, I'm not calling Amy Klobuchar corrupt. I do think she's got her own moral code and moral fiber, the same way Tim Walz does. Their moral code and moral fiber, however, is very, very odd, and the way it's wired doesn't make that much sense. The reality is, Pam Bondi is doing her job perfectly here, answering the asinine questions, not falling for the obvious traps, which, by the way, most of these Comey questions, that's a trap. Questions about all these senior members getting axed, that's a trap. That is a trap that does nothing but help the opposing party. That does nothing but deter from the mission of the Department of Justice. Pam Bondi's got has got larger fish to fry than talking about a handful of people that end up getting fired because, well, they got a little mouthy, they got a little old, and they cost too much. Compare this to an NFL team. When you've got an aging veteran that's really tired, for instance, I'll use the Falcons as an example. Back when we started to notice that Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are starting to lose a little bit of juice, that's when you trade them to a team that wants a veteran presence. You don't give them maximum contracts, which is exactly what the Falcons did. And that's literal Democrat thinking right there. You don't pay premiums for people that aren't going to give you elite production. And so Pam Bondi's not going to be talking about that. She's got other topics at hand. But Amy Klobuchar, if you're going to bring that up, you're really opening the door for a much larger set of questions. And I'm just shocked. I think the other reason that Amy Klobuchar is in the position she is not because she knows what to say. She's apparently really good behind the scenes. She's good at boardroom politics. She is not good at rhetorical politics, which is weird because when you are a senator, you need to be better at actually, grilling your own members of government to ensure everything's running smoothly. That's not what Klobuchar is good at. So that's what happened. That's a Democrat structure right there. They don't reward merit. They reward a different sense of loyalty and a different sense of ability. Republicans, on the other hand, will bluster in, say, hey, I'm good at this job, put me here. We'll go, okay, we'll do it. If you're strong enough to take it, go for it. I think that's the fundamental difference here. But man, just watching Amy Klobuchar fumble around, asking questions that make no real sense whatsoever, it's just bizarre. It's just bizarre to me, but let me know what you think down in the comments below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.